You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Thursday, happy Jupiter day, and welcome to another episode of Transits Today. Katie is here, Rose is here. Hi, Rachel. Hey, Nick, about to be high noon. Yes, Maribel is here. And let's take a look at the notable humans celebrating their birthdays today. Kelly Preston is a Libra, Margaret Thatcher, Sacha Baron Cohen is a Libra. Interesting. Kate Walsh, Tiffany Trump. Okay, Ashanti, Paul Simon, Tisha Campbell, Sammy Hagar. Lots of Jerry Jones, lots of notable people. Marie Osmond, Jerry Rice. I actually met Jerry Rice once in Cabo, randomly at a club. Wow, Paul Pierce, Doc Rivers. The list keeps on going today. But if it's your birthday, you're more important than all of these people. So let us know in the comments so we can celebrate you too. Or if someone you know is celebrating a birthday. Yes, Julian's dad has a birthday today. Happy birthday to Joe. Rachel says the intuitive dance class I went to last night was a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. It was so freeing to dance like I used to when I was younger without feeling like I was judged. I'm going to message you. I want to know the format of this class and how it went because I've been really curious about doing something like this. So thanks for sharing. Happy Thursday, Corby. Happy to see you here. Happy birthday to Julian's dad. All right, let's get a check on the current energy. The sun is in Libra. The moon is in Gemini. So we have a very airy energy, a very communicative, informational energy. Is informational a word? I don't know. But definitely feeling those airy vibes. And we have two major transits to talk about today. So let's just jump right in. Okay. For starters, this morning, the sun squared Lilith. And when we're talking about Lilith, we're talking about Black Moon Lilith, the point along the moon's path that is farthest away from Earth. So essentially, that's telling us that the sun, even though we can't really tell the diameter of the sun from here on Earth, it's always the same. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the science of it. But the sun is squaring Lilith. What does that mean for us astrologically? Okay, Lilith, remember, just a refresher here, the dark moon, the black moon, is in astrology representative of the part of us that is wild, that doesn't want to be tamed, that doesn't want to submit to anyone else, that authority, that autonomy. And with Lilith in Cancer, when we first talked about this transit, we talked about this movement for freedom of choice, and especially with what's happening right now in the world with the women of Iran rising up for their freedom to wear their hijab or not. And so we're seeing this really powerful women's movement with Lilith in Cancer, the sign of the mother, the sign of the divine feminine, and women wanting to reclaim their power over their bodies. And so with the sun squaring Lilith today, there might be more global awareness to what's going on in Iran or just women's rights in general in many places around the world. But on a personal level, what does this mean for us? Well, you might have woken up feeling a little sassy. Lilith tends to make us a little sassy. And I just noticed, I pulled up the chart, I don't even know if the chart shows this square to Lilith. Let me see. The sun. Oh, it does. It does. That dark red line. There's a lot of squares happening right now. It's hard to find which one we're talking about. Okay, but on a personal level, what does this mean for us? Well, it could be, regardless of your gender identity, these primal urges that are representative of Lilith kind of disrupting your peace. With the sun in Libra, there's this urge for peace and for everybody to just keep the peace, keep a balanced, harmonious vibe. But if you've been ignoring or repressing anything, Lilith is going to make it known. Lilith is going to make that thing known. So our bodily urges to be wild and untamed and free are kind of clashing with this harmonious vibe the Libra sun is bringing. And it might feel like two parts of you are clashing with each other during this 90-degree square. It might feel like there's part of you that just wants to be free and untamed and wild and unleashed, and the other part of you that's like, let's keep it buttoned up, let's keep it cool, So my advice when working with this transit is just to listen to your body, give your body what it needs, refusing yourself, refusing those bodily urges could cause you to have kind of your own little uprising, or cause discord in relationships, or a little bit of hostility. Even Lilith can be pretty powerful and hostile. So if you've been ignoring or repressing anything, today's a day where it might make itself known. And if you don't listen to it, you might have kind of a powerful or disruptive response to that thing you've been ignoring. And we all know that can cause issues in relationships. With the sun in Libra, the focus is really on relationships right now. And so we want to pay attention to our own needs. This is a season, we just came off of this full moon in Aries where there was themes of self versus others. So if you've been repressing anything in yourself, it's going to make itself known and probably cause issues with others. Lilith also, we like to call her the inner bitch, so this could just manifest as being a little bitchy today, or the people around you being a little bitchy today and not disrupting the peace. Grand Rising Jackie, happy to see you here. Rachel says, I literally laughed when I read the forecast. Really felt this Lilith energy this morning, was a little triggered, but I caught it and just took some space. Yeah, so sad what's happening to the women in Iran. I've seen them supporting vibes and just liking videos. And from my understanding, the best thing that we can do to support the women's movement in Iran is to just share the message and support their voices, raise their voices, because what these women are doing is incredibly brave, literally risking their lives just by going outside without their hijabs on, without their head coverings on, cutting their hair in the streets. It's really a different world in the Middle East for women. Many women are not allowed to check into hotels by themselves. There are just so many more restrictions and rules on what women can show of their bodies. In some places, it's like literally nothing but their eyes, So with Lilith in Cancer, it was like this huge push for women's rights and bodily autonomy here in the US. And now we're seeing kind of this other wave, not that has gone away, but this other wave of what's happening around the world. And what's happening with women in Iran is really indicative of how women as a gender have been treated worldwide for generations, for many years. And I think there are a lot of women around the world watching and being like, wow, I'm so lucky that I have freedom where I live, but also we're not that far away from what's happening there, So got to talk about it when we're talking about Lilith. What's going on with women's rights around the world? This is so aligned with my life. I saw your story last night. I'm like, Jackie's a little spicy, feeling that Lilith. Thank God I know how to ride my wave and not act out on a temperamental whim. And that is a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. My comment was about Lilith. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the women of Iran are inspiring. I never know how to say it either. Iran. There's, So I'm going to say it a million different ways probably, but their bravery is humbling. And it's amazing what can happen when hundreds, if not thousands of women work together. That's what we're seeing. And so the sun squaring Lilith really shining a light on the ways women have been repressed, on the ways all humans have been repressed, because we're all one, right? We all have that masculine and feminine within us. And as we watch what's happening on the world stage with women reclaiming their sovereignty, reclaiming their power, we all have that feminine energy within us. And I think it's a really, as I'm thinking about this, an integral part of what will happen next with men. You know, many people in the spiritual community say the women rise first and then the men. And I don't think we're going to see men like filling the streets and being like, we need our rights or anything like that, because let's be honest, there aren't the same issues. But I think that there will be men watching this who have realized how much of their own feminine that they have repressed, how much of that feminine energy globally has been repressed for so long. And now is the time that we're all rising. We're all here learning about spirituality, doing our healing. And it feels like women are really taking the lead on that front in a lot of ways. So that's my 2 cents about Lilith and women's rights. If you have a chance to see the movie The Stoning of Soraya, I found it very eye-opening. Ooh, I will definitely check that out. Jackie, I was feeling spicy, but I kept it to my own page, and that is a huge win during Lilith's presence. Absolutely. Sometimes you just need a healthy outlet, and the sun squaring Lilith, it's not that we have to ignore those feelings, right? The more we ignore them, the more powerfully they're going to come up when they need to come out. So finding a healthy outlet, finding a healthy channel for that tension, for that aggression, for that need to be wild and free. Rachel says, there was a really powerful episode of a podcast I listened to a couple weeks ago. It was about how a woman survived prison in Iran in the 80s and 90s. Wow. And, you know, my Iranian friends and family say Iran, not Iran. Okay, Iran it is. Thank you, thank you. I was very proud of myself. Good for you. Men have not been allowed to show their feminine as much as women. And as much as women have not been allowed to show their masculine. Libra season bringing light to those imbalances. Katie always is like one step ahead of me. And I was going to say, Libra season, there's this duality, right? We can be having one experience on this side of the world and a woman on the other side of the world, or a man on the other side of the world can be having a completely different experience of life. And so I feel like Libra season is just bringing our awareness to that duality. We can be happy in one moment, but struggling through our day in others. We're not meant to just be in one state, right? So duality. And Lilith shows us where things have been off balance, what we've been ignoring, what needs to come to light. Okay, let's move on to our next transit, because you guys know I could talk about Lilith all day long, but this is what we're really going to start to feel, especially as the day goes on. At 11:20 p.m. Pacific time tonight, so overnight, Venus and Saturn are coming into a 120-degree angle, a trine. Now, these are two major players that we talk about, Venus and Saturn. So we'll probably be feeling this energy more and more as the day goes on, but we're already feeling it. And let me see here. Wait for this page to load. Let's see. Venus and Saturn will be feeling this energy through tomorrow as well. Just wanted to make sure I'm giving you an accurate idea. Now, when I say we'll be feeling this tomorrow, or it's going to be exact, I'm talking about like exact. But mind you, I just want to point this out. In astrology, many astrologers use like a 5-degree orb. So when we're talking about the transits, we're talking about what's most potent today. But oftentimes we feel these energies for several days. But, you know, the best way to track them is to know what's happening right now. It's kind of like a weather pattern, right? It's a forecast. So yeah, it's going to be 90 degrees on this day, but we're going to make our way up to the 90s and then fall back down to the 90s because high and low pressure systems come in, you know, so you can think of the astrological transits that way too. Okay, so Venus and Saturn in a trine. What does that mean for us? Well, Venus, of course, being the planet of love, money, and beauty. Saturn being the planet of limitations, boundaries, just a big fat no, Big Daddy Saturn. So you can see here Venus and Saturn in this nice 120-degree angle. The last time we experienced this transit, I believe, was in July. So we've talked about this before, but it's been a while. And Venus being loving and loving luxury, especially Venus in Libra, she's really at her peak in Libra, you know. Harmonizing with Saturn and Aquarius is giving us a dose of practicality and words today. What's going on? What's the other word I'm looking for? Oh, sensibility. Thank you to myself for remembering that word. Okay, so Venus gets this dose of sensibility as Saturn harmonizes, because remember, this is a positive angle, but Saturn is the great malefic. So it does bring in this questioning or this skepticism, maybe a little bit of doubt. So we can see our relationships through a more realistic lens with Venus and Saturn harmonizing. We can understand that our partners, our friends, our family members are human and they have flaws, and that's okay. That kind of allows us to give people a little bit more grace. So, and relate with a little bit more maturity. Remember, we've been talking a lot about how we're relating to other people during Libra season, and Venus in Libra adds more awareness to relationships and the balance in them and the diplomacy we can have in our relationships, the common ground we can find in our relationships. I see this being more apparent though with money, because Venus rules money. This can really help us hone in on our spending and be more sensible. It'd be a great day to look at your finances, make some responsible financial decisions. It really just brings a lot of responsibility in general to love and money. So the responsibility, the duty we have in our relationships, how we're showing up in our relationships will be more apparent, and it'll be easy to be more mature because we understand that we have a responsibility to our partner when we have made this agreement, this contract with another human, like, okay, we're in life together. We're, even if it's a friendship, like we have this bond, we're in this experience together. There's a responsibility there, right? And so we're kind of aware of that responsibility. And I think this can help us be more supportive of partners and friends too. Just like, okay, I'm in it with you. I can be the mature one, and we can, in true Libra fashion, kind of flip-flop who's gonna hold it down from time to time. So, you know, another thing Saturn brings into play is ancestry. And if you're having any issues or you're needing advice, going to an elder or somebody with more experience relating to someone in another generation is definitely favored under this transit as well. Even looking back on your own relationship history or your own history with yourself. Beauty, of course, is ruled by Venus too. And now that I'm saying this, I've been doing a lot. Today has been one of those days where I've been really looking back at my own relationship with beauty and with myself and with how I feel in my body and, you know, just different ways that I express beauty. So that might be something coming up for you too. This feels, especially with Saturn retrograde, like a very retrospective, like looking back in history, whether that's, again, talking to an elder, someone from a previous generation who lived through a different time, or looking back at a former self and, you know, gaining wisdom from your former self. I think there's this tendency to believe, like, as we go through life, we just learn more and more, and we kind of look back on the past version of us and we're like, what did they know? But that version of us did have wisdom and did know a lot, and their experience is just as important as our current experience. So reviewing your relationship history, reviewing money history, reviewing your history with beauty and how you feel in your skin. There's a lot of lessons that can be learned today when we tap into that history, and also when we tap into how we're relating to other people and how we're relating to ourselves. With Venus in Libra, the planet of relationships, the sign of relationships, harmonizing with Saturn, the planet of lessons. Lessons in love are powerful today. And all three of those things, love, money, and beauty, there's a reason Venus rules all of them. They're all sort of intertwined and interrelated. And so you might, you know, find yourself reviewing your worthiness, your worth. Do I feel good enough to make money? Do I feel good enough to be in relationship? Again, all of these things can teach us lessons. So feels like a day to really get real with ourselves, get practical about how we relate to other people, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to money, and see it through a more responsible, practical lens. And again, there's a lot of air energy today. So ideas can come through, and I don't see it being like a new idea, although it could be. Just more realizations and lessons can be learned with this very intellectual energy we're working with today. I see this as a reflection on limiting beliefs around love, money, and beauty too. Yes, absolutely. And again, you're like always one step ahead of me, Katie. I love it. Working through my finances today. Love that. Great day to do it because we can be practical thanks to Saturn. Venus in Libra, right as Venus moved into Libra, I was like, I want to buy all the things, buy all the fancy things, buy all the nice things. And Saturn is kind of slowing that down and being like, okay, but look at your finances a little bit, be responsible. We have plenty of time. Look to the past. What have you done in the past that maybe didn't work out for you or did work out for you? And how can you learn from those experiences? Had a great chat with my mom today. Definitely feeling the transits. Beautiful. Yeah, you're tapped into also getting advice or relating to an older generation. Maybe I'll write another letter to my grandma for guidance just to get out of some of the things that have really been coming up. Really feeling that need of release. And we're coming into the last quarter moon on Monday, I believe, which is nice. I think that we could all use that final release. Let me tell you. Yeah, Monday is the last quarter moon. So we're making our way to that peak point of release right now. And if you're feeling the need, oh, shoot. I almost ended the live stream on accident, you guys. What is today? My dad wrote me letters when I was a teenager that I didn't really read until I was an adult and parent myself. I didn't find them until after he died. Maybe that would be good for me to revisit them. Another beautiful way to lean into this energy. Yeah. There's a lot of beauty to be found in looking to the past, and that's what Venus and Saturn are reminding us of today. All right, let's talk about the moon. The moon is in Gemini, and what's going on with this Gemini moon? It's a waning gibbous moon, getting smaller and smaller every night, or less and less light every night. And now that the moon's in Gemini, we're heading into the weekend. It's an interesting energy because we're definitely feeling that airy intellectual energy of really wanting to process things mentally, process emotions mentally. We tend to be more chatty and social when the moon is in Gemini, but because the moon is waning, this is an introspective energy. So I love how all of you are talking about kind of looking to the past or learning lessons from past communications, reading those past letters or talking to your mom, or, it's a very introspective energy. So as much as you're being social today or having conversations with other people today, that's definitely favored under the Gemini moon, processing our emotions by talking with other people. I would say take time just to process through your own dialogue, whether that's through journaling or writing a letter like Rachel was saying. And any conversations you are having, either with yourself or others, can show what needs to be released over the next couple days as we make our way towards the last quarter moon. 2 connections to talk about with the moon that actually already happened. So I'm curious for my friends joining me live here. Did anybody have a restless night of sleep? Because our 2 connections with the moon happened overnight and they were pretty stimulating. So at 1 a.m. Pacific time, 3 a.m. Eastern time, the moon connected with Jupiter in a sextile. And this overnight sextile might have brought some restlessness or a surge of energy in some way, or you might have just had nice, sweet dreams, which we will take, right? That's nice. So I'm curious. I woke up super early when these transits were playing out and could not fall back to sleep as much as I tried. With the moon and Jupiter connecting, it does feel like there was an element of optimism maybe waking up this morning. Our mental state is just definitely activated under this Gemini moon. That's for sure. So you might experience racing thoughts, or you might have experienced racing thoughts this morning, because not only was the moon connecting with Jupiter, but at 4 a.m. Pacific time, so 7 a.m. Eastern time, the moon and Mercury connected in a trine, in a harmony. So this balanced angle between the moon and Mercury really opened that channel between the emotions and the mind. And that's where kind of those racing thoughts with Jupiter right there too could have come into play. What's really beautiful, though, about this trine between the moon and Mercury that we're experiencing today, and the moon doesn't make any other connections. So, right now the moon is at, let's see, the moon's at 7 degrees, still pretty close to that trine to Mercury. And so we're still feeling it through the first part of today. There is great power in emotional processing through our words, not just because the moon is in Gemini, but because Mercury and the moon are harmonizing too, like chatting it out. Flirting might be something you're into today. But using your words to just as catharsis for your emotions is really powerful. Make sure you're talking with a trusted friend or a family member or somebody, though, because, loose lips sink ships. And the Gemini moon just makes us more prone to just like speaking when we're emotional, especially as the moon is in this releasing phase. We just kind of want to like get it all out. But we want to make sure we're having those conversations with people that we can trust, right? So you might want to do some journaling. Again, like everything today is pointing to talking it out, journaling, or relating to someone else to process emotions. And there's really great power with the moon and Mercury connecting in sharing what's on your heart with other people. So we want to make sure they're trusted, safe people, and we want to make sure too with the sun squaring Lilith that we're not putting our emotions on someone else, or like project like, blah, like you just need to get this out and that's kind of angry, and you know what I'm saying? We want to make sure that we're giving as much as we're taking, that we're being mindful of how much of our energy we're putting onto other people, because everybody's been that person on the other end of a conversation where it's like someone is dumping on you and you're like, okay, this is a lot. Like I'm trying to hold the space for you, but also this is a lot of energy you're pouring at me right now, So we want to definitely be mindful of the interactions we're having with other people, and responsible with Venus and Saturn harmonizing. We can be responsible with how we're relating to other people, not just throwing everything on someone else, but saying like, hey, do you have the space to have this conversation? Or do you have some time to chat? Like being a little bit more respectful about and not just having straight up expectations about someone being there for us when we need to word vomit, if that makes sense. Okay. Wow. Okay. You all felt it. My partner and I did not sleep at all. So exhausted, kept waking up. Baby was up every 2 hours, got 4 hours of sleep, stayed up with friends, did dream about something, but I can't remember it. A telemarketer woke me up at 6:50 a.m. How rude. Yes, I've been getting off at 10 p.m. lately and then chatting my partner's ear off. He's like, yo, I got to work in the morning. Fell asleep out on the couch around 2, went to bed at 3, so definitely felt that. Sleep disruptions over here. Wow. I think Saturn played into that with me, because this morning I just couldn't stop my mind from spinning with self-doubt. Lots of activation today. Yeah, I've been feeling that today too. Jackie could not sleep at all. I appreciate this. So I can give grace to those that aren't so aware of the possibility of verbal diarrhea, right? Some people just haven't learned that yet. Maybe some people haven't been on the other end of that conversation enough to be like, oh, I don't want to do that to someone else, But yeah, verbally processing, mentally processing is big today. So, and there's a lot of, again, relationships teach us our biggest lessons, or even realizations that come just from simply being in relationship with other people. So we all need those spaces today, especially, or on days like today, to feel like we are in a safe container to be like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I need to get this off my chest. Today feels like a day where a lot of us need that. So being mindful of that too, but also being mindful of how much energy exchange is happening in those conversations. Personally, I have the problem with the data dump, named after Mr. Data from Star Trek. Do the word vomit myself some, just try to share all the info. Yeah, I am that way too, for sure. For sure. Oh my goodness, all the comments started over again. Here we are. Yes, I'm guilty of it too, for sure, but cannot take it on if I know that's part of the energy today. And you know what? That's beautiful. Boundaries. We love boundaries. Saying like, even not even saying out loud, but when someone is doing that to you, something really powerful we can do is just like, even in just our mind, say like, that's not mine to carry. Like almost set that invisible boundary of like, I'm going to hear this person and just kind of hold my own energy and be like, okay, I'm going to let you keep talking, but I'm not going to take it on. And that is difficult to do when we're in relationship with other people because, you know, we're so attuned to our partners and our children's and our parents' energy, but having clear boundaries on a day like today. And now that I say that, Venus trine Saturn, hello, boundaries in relationships. Like that could be a big lesson that we learned today. Boundaries with money as well. What boundaries do we need? And it'll be easier to set those boundaries today. Venus in Libra helps us do so in a gentle way. And this is a nice connection. It's a fortunate connection. So we could learn a thing or two just by silently placing a boundary in a peaceful, gentle way. So I love that boundaries came up. I think we're all feeling the need for that a little bit. We love boundaries. Yes. I feel like it's constantly boundary season. Yeah. Boundary season. I love that. A boundary emoji. I think it's this emoji. Have you seen that emoji where she's like this? That to me is boundaries. Like, nope. Nope, nope. Oh my gosh. You're funny. So that's the energy of the day today. It's a lot to work with. It's a little tense. Even with these fortunate connections between Venus and Saturn, between the moon and Mercury, it's a lot of activation, it feels like today. And, you know, we can get through it. Boundaries are good. And I think just being here and already knowing like, okay, what lessons can we pull from whatever situations arise, even if we're the situation, even if our inner Lilith is like coming out to, you know, to bite someone. What realizations or lessons can we learn from those moments so we can just take the lesson and move on and keep learning and keep growing. And Venus and Saturn really helping us be like responsible with how we're relating to other people too. Yes, boundaries. Loving these emojis. So while literally just did that in a peaceful and gentle way with one place, I was letting money go. Ooh, I love that. Where you're just like, we're just going to put that boundary there and we're not going to let that energetic leak continue. You guys are so sweet. She really might be a little psychic. I don't feel like a psychic, but I appreciate all of the encouragement and love. I really do. Let's come back to our affirmation of the day. My relationships are my greatest teachers. Venus and Saturn, my friends, relationships are here to teach us. Our relationships with our partners, our triggering relationships in life, whatever kind of relationships they are often the relationships we learn the most from. Relationships that don't work out are relationships that we often learn the most from. So remember that if you're feeling agitated or drained or like there's not a balance in a relationship, what are you learning from that imbalance? And your relationship with yourself is also the most important relationship you'll have in life and probably your greatest teacher as well. You guys, you are sweet. I feel the love. I feel the love. Okay, let's do our tarot pull. I'm going to pull from the Cosmic Dancer Oracle. And I didn't even think about the fact that Rachel took that intuitive dance class when I picked this deck. So I feel like it's very on point. Venus feels like that dancer energy. Woo. You know the drill. Now's your time to ask questions, share any more insights, set an intention. Keep calling me a psychic if you want. No, I'm just kidding. But this is your part of the show. When I shuffle and you can just say whatever you want. No pressure. I I am feeling that Lilith energy, my friends. I'm feeling it. But also, I think as the day goes on, it'll be easier to tap into. Hi, Diane. We had such a fun reading yesterday. I'm sure it's been a lot. Diane's planning a wedding, and it sounds magical. It was so fun getting to connect with her during our reading, kind of face-to-face, really getting to experience her energy. I was saying, though, as the day goes on, I think it'll be easier to tap into those realizations and to kind of this sense of responsibility and sensibility that we talked about with Venus and Saturn, because that angle doesn't go exact until almost midnight. So it's like, I think it's more, I see the day as more like agitation and maybe even a little bit of overwhelm or mental stimulation first part of the day, and then we can kind of settle into whatever lessons or realizations that we're learning in the second part of the day. Lilith in Cancer always feels intense to me. My husband has a Cancer moon too. Yeah, Lilith in Cancer is no joke, especially because Lilith is the dark moon and the moon's at home in Cancer. So it feels like it's a placement of power for Lilith. At least that's how I feel into it. And yeah, Lilith on the moon is it's a rough transit. Thank you, Rachel. She says, I have a quick question. How do you describe a fixed grand cross? So a grand cross or a grand square, same thing. Basically, it's when there are 4 planets squaring each other, or 4 placements squaring each other, and a fixed grand cross would be all in fixed signs. So if you have a fixed grand cross in your chart, that's not an easy energy to work with. A grand cross, there is kind of an energy of completion because, you have a planet in each of the fixed signs, but fixed energy, it's a lot of tension. I would say in a word, it's tension, a fixed grand cross, a lot of tension in your life or in your experience. And also maybe some stubbornness as well, like that comes to mind because fixed energy tends to be very stubborn. I was thinking a lot about the different modalities of the signs. You have your cardinal signs, Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra are cardinal signs. So they're more like the authority. So how I think of it is there's this analogy that I actually learned a few years ago from Rachel Hollis and her ex-husband, Dave Hollis. And they talk about, are you the thermostat or the thermometer? And the analogy there is, are you someone who sets the energy of the room? Are you the thermostat? Or are you someone who takes on the energy of the room? Are you a thermometer and you come into the room and you kind of like adapt to it? So I feel like cardinal signs are kind of like the thermostat. They come in, they're the authority, they're the influencers. They influence the energy of a room. Whereas mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces are kind of like the thermometer. They can adapt, they can shape shift, they can become the energy of the room. I'm getting to fixed signs, don't worry. I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, what are fixed signs then? I feel like in this analogy, fixed signs hold their own energy. Like they don't change energy and they don't set anybody else's energy. They just stay as they are in their own essence. So it's like Aquarius being a fixed sign. Aquarius marches to the beat of their own drum. They're going to enter a room and be weird and do their own thing, right? They're not going to take on the energy. And maybe they're a little influential, but it's more people being like, oh, what's that person doing? Like, are they just kind of doing their own thing? Tauruses are known for being very stubborn, right? They don't take on the energy. They don't necessarily influence the energy. They just want to be in their energy. Scorpios, very powerful. They're alchemists. They can kind of work with the energy and it's like they're not taking it on and becoming it. They're just working with it. And who am I missing? Leos are more influential. But I feel like Leos are just the vibe, like they're going to be their own vibe. They're not going to change based on what's going on in the room. They're going to come in and be like, this is me. And if you want to join the party, you can. But if not, I'm still going to be the party. So when you have a fixed grand cross in your chart, you have a planet in each of those signs. And you're probably marching to the beat of your own drum, doing your own thing. Your energy can't be easily manipulated by other people, or it takes a lot to get you to budge, to get you to move. And there's a lot of tension between those things too, because if you have a grand cross, you have two oppositions in your chart. So you have a lot of energies that are opposite of each other, and that's where a lot of the tension comes in. And then, of course, those two oppositions also create four squares, and we all know squares bring a lot of tension. So hopefully that answered your question. And if there's a rectangle with some of those planets, does that help balance that, like the tension? Yeah, I think if there's a rectangle, that would mean that there are some sextiles adding some support. So I think that could help balance things a little bit. It's hard without like looking at the full picture. A grand cross is definitely not easy to deal with, but I feel like the rectangle aspects there, the sextiles there, can show maybe what to lean into a little bit more to make it a more gentle experience, or where there are almost outlets to, like, again, it's hard without seeing planets or anything, but you know, whenever there's a sextile, I'm always like, how can we like lean into this a little bit? And so a rectangle would mean that there are some sextiles going on, I'm assuming, right? And that's somewhere maybe you can lean into to relieve some of the tension. It's okay. Your question is never need to be sorry. Yeah. Katie says, I feel like a lot comes up for her husband when Lilith is in Cancer. I'm sure a lot of powerful emotions coming through when Lilith is near his moon. Diane says, reflecting on how we talked about yesterday with my mom, having possibly lost my potential twin in utero. Yeah, we had the most wild experience yesterday. At the very end of our reading, Diane is a Gemini rising. She's like, let me just like throw this question at you. And I literally got full body chills. Apparently when she was in the womb, like her parents thought they were going to have twins, and then there was not a twin. And anyway, it was a whole thing. But thinking of ways to initiate contact, I was like, you should try to see if you can reach out or get any messages from your like twin on the other side. If anybody knows ways to reach out, let Diane know. But I think the simple thing to do for anybody who is trying to like get messages from someone on the other side, right now the veil is thin, so it's a great time to do it as we get closer and closer to Halloween. Just say like, okay, a hummingbird means that, like, send me a hummingbird if you're here. And then if you start seeing hummingbirds, you know that they're there. Or if you were seeing something a lot, you know, ask like, does that mean you're here? And then, you know, you just kind of have to build your own relationship with the spirit on the other side. But a sign that means like a specific sign for that spirit is usually a great way or a great place to start. I find it interesting. I have one of each in my big three: Aquarius, Capricorn, Virgo. Just a reflection of me. Thanks for asking, Rachel. Yeah, and that probably helps. I think we've talked about this with you, Katie, before, because it's like you can play into your Capricorn and be the boss lady. You can play into your Aquarius and be kind of weird, or you can play into your Virgo and just kind of be of service and adapt to other people's needs. So it is nice to have all of the modalities in your chart, because you can kind of pick and choose how you want to be. Whereas someone with like a majority of one type of placement is going to be a lot more set in their ways. Ooh, maybe the cards have advice for you. Okay. Sending love and intention as you seek this out. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for the explanation. I was looking into my partner's chart and he has one. Just learning more about his chart. Is it weird to schedule a reading to learn more about my partner? Absolutely not. I've had someone do that before. My friend Danielle scheduled a partner reading, and we just looked into her partner's chart, and it was right before they were getting married. And I think she learned a lot. And especially since I had already done her reading, it was a really great way to be like, here's how your energies play into each other. You know, here's how you can work better together, and maybe some things you might not realize are going on with your partner because they're more subconscious or more hidden depending on their signs. He clearly has some Scorpio placements. So yeah, that's weird. I was just thinking about a Ouija board. Threw them out in the trash. I've never used one because they freak me out. But when Diane said, should I initiate contact? That's the first visual I got was of a Ouija board. But I wouldn't recommend. Personally, I haven't had I have never used one. They've seemed kind of dark to me personally. But if that's your jam, go for it. I fully support it. Okay, we got to do our card pull. So if you are joining me live, if you are finding, yeah, Diane got rid of hers too. If you're finding this video later, we are going to just all take a collective deep breath and see what needs to come through for all of us today, and maybe some specific guidance for Diane. So here we go. Breathe in and exhale. What do we need to know? Okay. Adorn the temple is what it says. This woman looking very seductive, and it says adorn the temple. Card number 27. Okay, here is the description. Your body is a living, breathing temple. Today, acknowledge and celebrate the divine presence that dwells within you by engaging in the sacred art of adornment. Beauty is both an aspect of and a pathway to the divine. This card encourages you to call forth and magnify this divine beauty through the subtle arrangement of texture, color, form, shape, and sparkle in relation to your dress, decoration, and self-care. Just as a temple is regularly enhanced with flowers, candles, incense, and other such high vibratory expressions, treat your body as a sacred place too. Adorn it with the same degree of loving attention through intentional ornamentation. In literal truth, your body is a temple. After all, a temple is a physical anchor and container of the living presence of the infinite Holy Spirit, and this is a clear and accurate definition of your physical body. It is highly appropriate to pay worshipful tribute to the glorious temple of your body and the eternal all that lives within it through careful and loving adornment. Caring about our appearance may be considered superficial and frivolous. Mainstream commercial culture regularly attempts to exploit our insecurities to negatively inspire us to buy products like cosmetics and clothes. It's time to place your attention on a far superior paradigm. The truth is, caring for and adorning your body is a sacred act. Getting dressed can be a conscious ritual that attunes you to the goddess energies alive in the world and in yourself. Decorate and beautify yourself from a place of profound power and radiant respect. Ooh, radiant respect. When you live from this perspective, a new level of empowerment will be born within you and in the world at large. Not only will you fortify your self-image and self-worth, but you will also improve the self-esteem and self-reverence of your entire human family now and for generations to come. Sacred adornment requires you to connect with yourself to discover your authentic style and self-care habits. Go beyond mass conditioning and fear-based programming to identify the colors, patterns, scents, accessories, and practices that feel like you and help you elevate your everyday consciousness to the realm of the sublime. Ooh, wow, that was a long description, but I feel like this is so perfect when talking about Venus and Saturn connecting today, because there is a respect that comes with beauty, right? When we beautify things, we're paying respect to them. When we beautify our home, we're respecting this temple that we live in. When we beautify ourselves, we're showing respect to ourselves. When we go pay tribute to someone's gravesite, we bring flowers to beautify that space. And I love that this came up because it's really not something we talked about with this Venus-Saturn connection, but beauty is a way to pay respect. And we should all respect ourselves. We should all love ourselves. And I love how it talks about not buying into like a mainstream beauty necessarily, you know, finding your own unique expression of beauty, finding scents and patterns that make you come alive, that make you feel good is a way to find more respect for yourself and more connection to this spirit that lives within you, right? By creating a temple, a beautiful temple, your spirit can come out and express itself a little bit more easily. Wow. No wonder I feel so different. When I'm dressed with intention, I feel so much more confident. It's funny I pulled that card because I was really not feeling great this morning, friends. I was having a really hard time, to be honest. And I was like, I'm going to put on this shirt because it has, I'll show you, it's like embrace kindness, embrace mindfulness, embrace empathy, joy, life, happiness. And I like wearing this shirt when I'm like really trying to call in those things for myself, because words are powerful, and it's just like water, you know, if you've ever seen, there's like Instagram accounts where they write words on petri dishes and put water in them and then freeze them, and the water crystallizes in different patterns. We're water, you know, so putting words on ourselves, being intentional about crystals we're wearing or jewelry we're wearing or rings or even makeup, if that makes you feel good about yourself, that's part of paying respect to your sacred temple. Doing your hair in a way that feels really good for you. Diane and I were just talking about that yesterday, like, you know, just how she feels most confident wearing her hair. So I love that we pulled this today. Katie says, love this card. It speaks to my Aquarius nature and especially my little Aquarian daughter. Yes. And yes, also see this for what is going on in Iran. Absolutely. I was thinking that when I was reading the card too. Like, these women just want to be able to embrace their own sacred temple, adorn their own sacred temple in a way that feels good for them. If they want to let their hair out to be seen, like, that's how they want to celebrate their spirit and show their spirit, or wear bright colors, or show their shoulders, for God's sake, you know? So, it is a privilege to be able to adorn our temples. It is a privilege to be able to wear what we want to wear and express ourselves how we want to express ourselves, dye our hair crazy colors, wear all the crystals. You know, Jackie, I don't know if Jackie's still here, loves to wear blue mascara every day. And that's like so Jackie and so her thing. Yeah. So, oh yeah. Diane says she had a Ouija board and got rid of it. You had 8 of them? Wow, that's wild. Flies and crows feel like an expression of my dad's energy. Kind of odd, but it makes a lot of sense to me. My dad was in the trenches of society, firefighting, prisons. That's beautiful. That's beautiful that you connect with those. All living beings can be, especially I think beings that fly, can be messages. They feel like angelic to me personally. Yay, I would love to learn about your partner's energy. Yeah, Diane's the second part of her comment. You know, she feels way better when she's dressed up as compared to lately living in sweats and a t-shirt. Need to focus on my self-care when what makes me feel alive, reflecting who I am. And luckily, Diane, you have such a fun event coming up. You're going to be feeling yourself in your wedding dress in this really beautiful environment. So really lean into that energy. That's a really cool way that as a society on almost all cultures, we like, that's a practice. For thousands of years, we've been adorning our temples through weddings and rituals and what we wear in these sacred settings, right? And I love Diane's doing it differently. You know, she's doing it in a very authentic expression of herself. Yes, look up the water in the petri dishes. It's really cool. It's a very cool way to look at energy. Julian's trying to get frisky. You know what? He's been pretty great today, so we'll let him slide. Thank you. Thank you all. Always have motivational quotes around my house. Another beautiful way to adorn your temple, right? Sometimes you just need, I have like a vision board up over here. I mean, we've got the neon light. I'm all about adorning the temple, but I think especially in Libra season, we get kind of wrapped up in the aesthetic and what we want our surroundings to look like, but to remember that your body is a temple too. Yes, Jackie's blue mascara. It's a ritual. I love it. I don't even think I've ever seen you without blue mascara. It's amazing. Be your weird, authentic self. We are all beautiful and unique. What a beautiful note to end on today, everyone. No, just boundaries. I'm just kidding. Everything to him is like, embrace it, frisky season, just his comments. But you know what? He's an Aquarius, double Aquarius over here. We just got to let him be his weirdo self, you know? He brings some levity to the chat, I think. But I'm going to go back to Rachel's comment because I like ending on that better. Be your weird, authentic self and adorn your temple. Take some time for self-care today. Do what feels authentic to you. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. even when I feel resistance to getting ready and coming on here at the end of our shows together, I always feel so uplifted, and you all make my day every single day, seriously. And I'm just so grateful to be in this community with you all. So Nick says, wish you all a good day. I'll see you all back here tomorrow morning. We're going to talk through the energy of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we're going to be talking a lot about Venus in the next couple weeks, because if you'll notice, Venus and the sun are very close to one another. So we're feeling that Venus influence quite a bit. Another reason to get into that adornment, but we'll chat through the energy of the weekend tomorrow. Loving you right back. And yes, thankful that we have you to look forward to in the comments. So much love and grace to you, Katie. Rose. Oofing season. Oh my gosh. I gotta get out of here now. All my Virgo placements are freaking out. Just kidding. Every time I say oof now, I think of you. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing how you two have never met, but your energy has influenced each other through this community? Like, that blows my mind. Okay. All right. I gotta go. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Until I see you next, have a beautiful rest of your Thursday. Remember to show yourself some love and self-care today. And until I see you next, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.